Hello guys, it's me, JiggySpice. Today I just want to go over the light armor changes once more because there was some things that I left out in my previous video, so I just want to give you guys a short demonstration of what the actual changes are and how impactful I think they are going to be. So I'm just gonna jump over to some mobs and let's go take a look. So in my previous video I said that the light armor was getting a buff and not a nerf, and some people pointed out that I didn't talk about the dodge roll reduction, which is one of the big changes that people are talking about. So I just want to demonstrate what that actually looks like. So here we're gonna just make this mob hit me. This is the reduced dodge roll. That's the reduced dodge roll. This is a normal dodge roll. I guess it's kind of hard to see it, but in my opinion it is not super impactful. It is a nerf. I will agree that this is a nerf and it is going to force you to play a little bit differently, but I don't think it's enough of a nerf that it kind of like invalidates light armor's strength, because your dodge roll, reduced dodge roll, is still longer than a normal medium dodge. Let me show you what a medium dodge looks like. So let's make this guy hit us. Here we have a reduced medium dodge. This is a normal medium dodge. I feel like they are the same. It is only a 20% reduction, right? So yeah, it is slightly reduced. If you really pay attention to it, you will kind of feel it. But I think overall, it isn't that big of a deal. The only difference is kind of like the heavy armor. We find a heavy piece. Because of course the changes that did happen with the armors, by the way, is currently in the live version of the game, when you get hit by a melee attack, you start slow walking for 1.75 seconds, so almost 2 seconds. You slow walk and then you continue running normally. And this is the same for all three armor types. But the changes on the PTR right now is that the light armor will slow walk for 1.5 seconds, so that is a buff from 1.75. Although it's not noticeable really. Then the medium armor will slow walk for 1 second and the heavy armor will slow walk for half a second. So you can notice now if this guy hits me, you just start running right away, you know, it's half a second. So the heavy armor got a nice buff. Let me see the... I don't think even the dodges is reduced with the heavy armor. So heavy armor is I guess slightly better in melee combat in some way. I don't really see this as a huge deal for the heavy armor because you're usually just chasing anyway, you know, unless somebody hits you. And how often does that happen? Like you're trying to get somebody and they turn around and hit you and run away. I don't feel like that is the biggest problem that the heavy armor has right now. It is the damage and the mobility that the heavy armor has. Medium armor might become more usable for several reasons, mostly because the greatsword is coming out and it deals disgusting damage. So it is definitely going to be more of a challenge to play light armor in the next patch because of the changes to light armor itself, and also because so many people are going to be running greatsword because it scales with dexterity and strength equally, meaning that, you know, you're going to see a lot of them because they're going to be a part of so many different builds. So it is going to be a little bit more difficult to play a light armor build. There's also some changes to the rapier. I don't know if I can show them off. One of them is going to be the evade change. So the change here, you can see it, is to a Ligro, which is this haste you get for 3 seconds. Now you need to successfully evade through an enemy attack to get the haste buff. And then they also changed the... they changed breathe in and Allegro. And audio go, isn't it? Yeah, I think they changed all of these three. No, this one is not changed, okay. So it's the Allegro and the Breathe In. You need to successfully dodge an enemy attack or evade an enemy attack to get the stamina, 20 stamina, and his buff. So now when I use it, it just doesn't give me anything. It just gives me iframes, that's all, right? So that is a slight nerf, and then they also nerfed Repair's Riposte. They nerfed Insult to Injury. If Riposte successfully hits a target, gain Empower, increasing damage by 10% for 3 seconds. That used to be a stun immunity, so it's an interesting change. Maybe it makes people play more offensively, but we will see. And then there is the actual change to Riposte itself. If the Riposte is triggered, you become invulnerable, which is basically a berserk. So you can still be stunned, but you cannot be staggered. So it's an interesting change. I don't think it changes much, to be honest. Those that use the Repair for survivability, like healers and stuff like this, I think they're still gonna be just as annoying to take down, just as difficult. This change really doesn't change much. You just have to... basically the changes with the light armor and the Repair means that you're just going to have to be a little bit more mindful. You can't waste as much stamina anymore. You might have to just, like, if you take a hit and you're in that slow state, you know, like instead of panic rolling and just I want to get away, you might just have to actually look at the next hit for when it comes while you're still slow and actually dodge it instead of just panic dodging, you know. So as long as you just pay attention and don't do anything needlessly, you know, you're still gonna be fine. I think Repair is still gonna be the #1 used by healers. Maybe we will see more ice gauntlets, but I doubt it. I think Repair is still gonna be king, and I also think light armor is still gonna be king. I'm gonna continue rocking light armor, that's for sure. And my planned build for next patch is gonna be greatsword and sword and shield. I'm not gonna be using this build that you are looking at right now though. I'm not gonna be using Skyward Slash. I have a different build where I'm experimenting with Roaring Rupture. But I will do a separate video where I show off a few different really cool sword builds, greatsword builds, paired with both strength weapons and dexterity weapons. There is like 4 or 5 different builds that I'm really eager to try. So yeah, I'm gonna make a separate video for that though, so I'm not gonna talk too much about that right now. But that is pretty much the armor changes. For those of you who say that light armor is super nerfed now, I hate to break it to you, it definitely is not. I have been using this in Arena as well. I might throw in some clips if I have some. If I still have some clips. I will throw them in at the end of this video from the Arena, showing off how light armor is still super good. So hope that clears it up for you guys. Light armor is still the king of kings, and if you like light armor right now, some of us, we just like the mobility. It's really boring to play medium, hopping around like a bunny, being super clunky and slow. It's we just like the mobility, you know, it's more fun rolling around. So don't worry, you can still do it. The skill ceiling might just have gone up a little bit though. So mostly, like by itself, light armor nerf is not substantial, but light armor coupled with the release of the greatsword and the majority of the player base using the greatsword is going to make light armor feel more difficult and maybe worse. But as it kind of starts to even out and you start to see less and less greatswords, then light armor will definitely go back to being the king again. So yeah, that is all I wanted to cover today. If you have any questions or inputs of your own, then feel free to leave them in the comments down below and I will answer you. And I will be releasing some greatsword builds really soon. I just need to experiment a little bit more before I feel comfortable making that video. But I definitely have some really interesting builds coming up though. Also going to be talking about the Heart Rune abilities, because yeah, they are interesting, very interesting. and they are very niche, they are very situational, but they are definitely worth talking about. So yeah, that is all I have for today. If you did like the video, then I would greatly appreciate it if you could take a moment to hit like on the video, and super appreciate it if you want to subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, have a nice day. Peace.
Max was like 2K. Headshot with crit. Look at that, 949. That's why I switched to elemental, because the damage that I was hitting these heavies for was fucking negligible.